Hello and welcome to the Pulse of Spokane. I'm your host, Ryan Meza, and I'm really excited to introduce my guest here with me today. I'm joined with Drew Henry. He is the founder of Revival Tea Company. Thank you for joining me today, Drew.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I just wanted to talk to you about your company you started back in 2018. Just what is the tea, honestly? Like, why did you start a tea company?
Yeah, so long story short, my wife and I were planning on opening a distillery here stateside. My family originally comes from Northern Ireland, owned a distillery. We were looking at reopening that family distillery in the States, and that's just been done. And we didn't think there was necessarily a market for more whiskey up here. But I was drinking about 6 cups of tea a day. And however, I didn't view myself as a tea person. And we said, nobody's doing tea really up in our part of the country, or honestly, there aren't many tea manufacturers in the United States. Mm-hmm. So we said, what if we could take a lot of the ideas from whiskey, step outside of the box, and start a craft tea movement? And there's been a lot more people who have jumped on board than we could have ever imagined.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like you're right, you don't hear much about tea, especially up here. And I just wanted to know, like, what fascinated you with tea? You said you drink so much tea for a while before you started the company. What kind of fascinated you to start this company? Yeah,
so the United States is actually the only country in the world that it goes water, coffee, tea. And it's only been that way for about 20 years, thanks to Starbucks. Yeah. And so every other country in the world, it goes water, tea, coffee. And essentially, the U.S. Beverage Association sees that changing. They actually, tea sales the last 5 years have gone up so much that they think tea will overpower coffee in the next decade again. And there's so much you can do with tea. I actually am a big coffee lover myself. I can't drink a lot of it because of the acidity. However, I love the flavor. Yet, the difference between a light, medium, and dark roast, there's only so much variation there. Yeah. Where with tea, the sky's the limit. And so we go to our blending process with a very unique and out-of-the-box mindset where we're kind of willing to do very out-there flavors. I'm actually sipping on like our campfire blend right now, which you can't do coffee that tastes like a campfire, but with tea, there's a lot of possibilities. So it was just fun to change from one drink to the other and say, okay, not being a tea person, maybe that's an advantage that we're willing to do some new fun things.
Yeah, definitely. And I already noticed that looking at your menu, you guys kind of challenge the status quo of tea. You guys put tea in your alcohol. You guys have like an Earl Grey, like old fashioned, or a hibiscus, cosmopolitan. And you guys also offer like Nitro Chais or like tea sodas. What was that kind of process like in trying to think outside the box and kind of mixing these elements of tea and alcohol or tea and coffee together?
Yeah, so at our tasting room downtown, we do tea mocktails. So they're alcohol free, but they have like alcohol extract. Yeah. And that tasting room is in an old speakeasy back from the 1920s.
Oh, awesome. That's so cool.
And it was perfect for us. I mean, to go with our story and our branding, having that location was perfect. And so we wanted to pay ode to the history of the space. So doing those tea mocktails were a blast. The Earl Grey Old Fashioned, we take bourbon extract, Earl Grey, a little bit of simple syrup, bitters, and then we add fresh orange peel and a cinnamon stick. And that and our Nitro Chai that you mentioned are actually our best-selling drinks. And I think that a lot of people think that tea has to be, hot, straight, that's it. And there's actually a lot of things you can do, like the Nitro Chai. Nitro coffee's just started to catch on. Obviously, over in Ireland, Guinness is a big thing over there. So the Nitro thing's fun, the mocktails. I think it just opens up people's mind to everything that you can do with tea, which is a lot of fun.
Definitely. I know. I feel like there's such a science. Like, there's such a science behind coffee and most definitely behind tea as well, especially mixing in the nitro and stuff like that. But over at Revival Tea, you guys use very organic, natural, 100% natural flavors, the finest ingredients. Where do you get your tea from and to brew it?
So we import it from all over the world. A really big difference with our tea versus most of the tea you will find on, say, grocery store shelves is when you're looking at a tea plant, a Camellia sinensis plant. Most of the tea in grocery stores is what's called dust and fannings. So it's the really big leaves at the bottom and the stems, and they grind them all up and put them in tea. We use what's called the flowery orange pekoe, which is the tiny little leaf on the top. And that's actually the only part of the plant that has all the nutrients that tea's known for. Okay. To my understanding, we're actually one of only 3 companies in the United States who exclusively use flowery orange pekoe tea.
Wow.
So our tea has the nutrients that you expect to get out of tea, but from a taste perspective, tea's all about acidity. And so some teas can give you a very dry mouth taste. Our teas are very smooth. And very bold at the same time, and that's because of the leaves that we're picking. So very purposeful about where we get our tea from. They're all fair trade and organic, because we do want to support those farms as well. But we get it from China, Japan, all the way down to South Africa and Argentina. We try to obviously source as much as we can locally. You can't grow tea in the U.S., but like our honey and our fresh crafted spiced chai comes from bees in the Spokane Valley. And then our peppermint leaf comes from Central Washington, as 90% of the world's peppermint is grown in Washington and Oregon.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know. I just mentioned earlier the peppermint leaf tea kind of caught my eye when I was looking at the menu.
Yeah.
Can you kind of just walk me through the experience you get once you walk into your headquarters? I know you mentioned you have a tasting room, a retail shop, but I was looking online and you guys definitely have a very like modern, rustic kind of vibe in there that I noticed. Can you just walk me through that experience once you walk in? Yeah,
so it's all in one location down at 415 West Main, right downtown, but it is downstairs in a former speakeasy space. So I think that if you're going for the first time, you open the front door and it is downstairs. But the easiest way to explain it is we tried to create like a tea brewery or tea distillery experience. So you're going to walk in. We have a retail shop where you can take loose leaf or tea bags home with you. But you can actually stare in during the week and watch our tea makers blend the cup that you'll be drinking, which is awesome. We call it, a little mini Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory back there. 'Cause we've got like a tea bagging machine that does 2,000 tea bags an hour, which is kind of fun to watch. So you can watch us blend the tea you're drinking. And then you can go up to what we have a tea bar in our tasting room, and you can do tea flights where you can choose any 3 of our teas, just like a whiskey or a beer flight. And then the tea mocktails, you can do anything hot or iced, straight or as a latte. So the possibilities are endless, and then we have tons of seating that you can come and enjoy and socially distance yourself from others. And we even do, down at our headquarters, we do a membership program where you can actually get unlimited tea per month for $50 a month. So we have a lot of students and people who have been working from home that come down and hang out with us and sip on tea all day as well.
Wow, that's awesome. That sounds like such a fun experience, like a good outing for the day too. And especially right now, I feel like it's so important to just get out of the house and kind of do something a little different, have that interaction.
Definitely.
I know you guys are kind of doing a deal right now. Are you guys doing a buy one tea, get another one 50% off? Is that correct?
So that's a permanent fixture for us in store or online at revivalteacompany.com. So any teas, buy one, get one 50% off. And then we also do free shipping to all 50 states.
Oh, perfect. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
So my final question for you is, honestly, you guys are doing something very different here in Spokane. What do you think kind of separates you other than having that fresh ingredients in your tea and other mixtures? What do you think separates you from other companies?
Well, as we mentioned a little bit, there's tons of breweries, several distilleries, tons of amazing coffee roasters around here, but there are a handful of companies in the entire country who are actually doing that with tea. And so being a tea manufacturer, we think that it'd be kind of like, No Lie, who's an amazing brewery in town. They were really the first local brewery to go on store shelves and be out there. And now we have 30, 40 great breweries in Spokane. And so we're trying to really lead that craft tea movement online and here locally. So we're doing a huge push into grocery stores this fall.
Awesome.
And so we're really trying to make tea more accessible. People try to make tea a lot more complicated than it is. You're taking leaves and you're sticking it in warm water. It's not rocket science. So you'll see with our teas, we don't call a tea by the town that it came from, because when you walk in, we don't want you to be intimidated. We don't want you to feel like we're pulling the curtain over your eyes. We want to make tea very simple, because it is. And I think when you take that stigma away from tea, people, we always joke down in our tasting room that we do tea baptisms every week, because people thought, like, I thought tea was so complicated. And they come in, get to do the experience like you mentioned, and go, okay, this is actually pretty cool. So we're hoping to convert, a lot of tea drinkers like myself to what we're doing.
Definitely. That's so awesome. And I could tell you're so passionate about what you're doing and kind of the revolution you're making around tea. So thank you so much for joining me today, Jay. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Might see you this weekend, honestly. I'm going to head over there.
We'll be there.
Awesome. Well, that's all the time we have here today on the Pulse of Spokane. I'm your host, Ryan Meza. Have a great day.
Buying a car at Wendell Nissan really is a piece of cake. Use our online tool and do everything before you arrive, even the financing. Go to wendellnissan.com and be in your new car in no time. It's a piece of cake.
When we opened the doors the first day, we started with a counter full of maybe a dozen selections of a dozen cupcakes. We sold out, and it just went crazy from there. I'm Sally. I run Sweet Frosting's Blissful Bake Shop downtown Spokane. It's almost 40 years of baking for me. We now do between 1,000 and 2,000 cupcakes a day. The variety of cupcakes is kind of like the variety of services that STCU provides for us. Since we opened this site in 2014, they've been our banker. We are producing for 4 stores right here, so we have 35 to 40 employees at any one time. There's an STCU close to virtually every one of my stores, and every time I get a new employee, that's the first place we send them. STCU is such a good fit. It's just so convenient for me to have them as neighbors. They are always so pleasant and always so helpful, and we have a lot of little needs. They've always been behind me 100%, so it's a good thing to have that partnership.
Here at River Ridge Hardware, we carry a great selection of Krylon brand spray paints, Color Master, general purpose, the Rust Protector for taking care of metal, Fusion for taking care of plastics, and the Super Max that can take care of it all.
Weather in the inland Northwest can wear you down. And if your gutters are in poor condition or you do not have gutters, you could suffer damage that could cost a fortune to fix. Rainman Seamless Rain Gutters has almost 30 years of professional experience in serving the inland Northwest region and strives to ensure customer service that is second to none, from the time you call to the end of the project.
Thanks for watching. Ask the host a question, recommend a guest, or check out any of our other programs on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SpokaneTalksMedia.com. Sponsored by Local 29 Firefighters Union, Well Dressed Walrus, and Homes for You.